The art of conversation is a lost skill. You know the words that you would like to say, but often the ability to recall and organize those thoughts in an abbreviated time becomes a daunting task. Communication becomes more than a group of words, but an expression of your morals, values, and opinions. Expressing yourself through the art of conversation can leave you open to critics who may not be a fan of your thought process. Words can save as easily as words can kill. When you have the power, you must learn to wield that weapon with responsibility. Salacious, stunning, informative, and entertaining are all appropriate descriptors of a properly performed rant. Before you know it, the message that you put together becomes digestible to the world. Every once in a while, you put together a group of sentences with a profound impact, and the verbiage becomes art. I'm Kevin Donaldson, always here with Mike Felice, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity or overcoming suffering, then we're for you, because that's what we do here, and that's the stories that we highlight. So do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, please comment, ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content, and now you can join. And of course, follow us on all social media so you can find out what we're up to, when we're up to it. Tonight's kind of interesting, okay? Tonight's actually very interesting. This impromptu meeting, I mean, we met through social media, Danny.
Yeah.
You know, we met through social media. You reached out, and we've become friends ever since. And Tom's in here today, and today we're going to do a repeat. We're going to try to capture lightning in the bottle twice. We're going to do the suffering of another rant.
Whoa, look at it.
We had a lot of fun with those rants. It's just random topics. You have 2 minutes to just start and land the plane and have a coherent thought. So thank you very much. And we're here at this beautiful studio. Danny, you got involved with this studio, and it's a beautiful studio.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us down, because we were off this week. We figured, hey, listen, we need content. We need a show. What better to do it with people who I care about?
Yeah. Thank you for being here. And thank you to Ben Scalzo, man, the guy behind all this.
He's put up with a lot of my shit, you know. He's calling me and like, I don't know. He's good. But listen, I'm overly appreciative that we're here tonight.
Thank you for being here. We're honored, man.
Before we get into anything, so a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. Now, we don't trust anybody as retired police or current police, and we certainly don't trust anybody as podcasters, but we do trust the guys over at Toyota Hackensack. So if you're looking for a car, go to toyotahackensack.com and let them find you a car. All right, so I'm a little bit out of my element here, but let's try to keep it. Let's try to keep it safe. Let's try to keep it the same. Tonight's social media comes from Vish22. Tom, is that you?
Fish. I don't know. It's no Blue Oyster Bar associate, I don't think.
So we're current police or we're retired police, and inevitably, when you go out and somebody finds out you're a cop, they ask you cop advice, right? I got stopped here, my cousin got arrested here, what do I do? How would you handle it? So the question from Vish22 is how do you handle questions about your expertise as a police officer? We're a guest in your studio, Danny, so let's start with you.
Oh, man. So I get asked all the time, and I always tell them there's 3 sides to a story. What did you do to get in that situation? Because I feel people always give you their version only, obviously. They're not going to tell you exactly what they did. And to be honest, man, I really don't like talking about cop stuff when I'm off duty, especially with friends and family, because that conversation could go south. You know, I just tell them, this is what you did wrong from what you're telling me. The reason why the cop stopped you or the reason why the cop acted in the fashion that they did is because from what you're telling me, this is what you possibly did wrong, okay? And then I just give them advice on, you know, how to move forward, you know, whether it's going to court, whether it's whatever. Hopefully it's nothing criminal. But, you know, try to give them the best advice.
Tom, what do you think?
So I think it gets into, like, you know, listen, cops are one of those professions, like doctors, lawyers, cops.
Doctor's actually the same thing, different profession. It's like, hey, doc, I got the minor fleshy protuberance around my anus. What do I do with it?
Yeah. It hurts when I do this. Well, don't do that.
There you go.
But I feel it's a trap, right? So no matter what you answer, you're going to be giving them an answer, and they're going to be arguing their case, right? And before you know it, you're like, however, what body part you want to say deep into the conversation, and you find yourself, hey, listen, I didn't give the ticket. I didn't even stop you. But why am I on trial for defending the cop's actions? Which sometimes, listen, they may not be defendable. The only winning move in that situation, in my opinion, is not to play. A short answer. Yeah, but they're going to be wanting, you know, and listen, you get into one layer after another layer, all of a sudden, like you're arguing case law and, well, can they ask you out of the car? Can they do this? Can they do that? I had a passenger with me. They asked me for ID, and it gets into this sort of calculus that, listen, even if you were on the call, it's difficult to answer. And I wasn't even there. So
It's a hard thing to overcome, right? So when somebody's coming up to you and asking you about, what do you think about this as a police officer? It's never anything good. It's not like, hey, I got this award and the police showed up. What do you think about that? No, it's not like that. It's like, I got stopped. I got pulled over. They said I wasn't wearing my seatbelt, but I had just left the parking lot, which was 2 miles away. Yeah. So in other words, you're telling me you weren't wearing your seatbelt. Well, guess what? You're guilty. And I'm very blunt with these people, and I shouldn't be. I should take some of your advice and not play along. But there's that piece of me and sometimes they'll tell me stuff that cops did wrong, but you have to take it for what it is. Are they telling you the truth? Are they missing things? So both your answers kind of hit home with me. Are they missing some of the main points of the story? Where did you mouth off? Did you give yourself a ticket? In other words, because I was always told you write your own tickets. I try to always back up police officers when I can. Sometimes police officers are undefendable. You know, sometimes we are our own worst enemy. Sometimes we do things wrong. If they did do something wrong, it depends on how close the friend is. I'll tell them, okay, try to defend it here, but you're kind of wrong. See if you can bump it down to this and try to get out of it. But it's never as clear cut as they make it out to be. But it's I almost get annoyed at it a lot of times. I'm 12 years gone, so my knowledge of case law is foggy at best. And I try to tell them, I said, look, I haven't been a cop for 12 years. So what are you asking me for? Were you wearing your seatbelt? No? Go fight it in court.
Yeah.
Did you steal the item? Well, if you did, you're guilty. What do you want me to tell you? You want me to try to tell you how to get out of it? You want me to tell you that you're right? And I can't always do that. I'm always going to tell people the way that it is, whether they like it or not.
There's a point in time where you might get to like, okay, listen, the cop did everything right. And if you're actually siding with the officer that did the enforcement action, oh, you guys are all the same. You all stick together. Right? And, it's a loaded question from the onset. But then if you start critiquing the one thing that might have done wrong, it's a slippery slope. Now you're defending like their entire career. Like, listen, man, this is one thing.
Bottom line is what I try to tell them. I said, every police officer is human. Every police officer is fallible. Nobody is perfect. And if you can remember that, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But I guarantee you that you were not picked out of a crowd. They were not harsh on you for no reason. They saw something that they acted on. It's not like you see in the movies where there's just rogue cops out there writing seatbelt tickets. It doesn't happen. So if they remember that and you try to get that through to them, sometimes the little light goes on, but not always.
And law enforcement is not conducted in a laboratory, right? There are no perfect conditions.
Nope.
There's a lot of variables out there, personalities, extrinsic things that you don't see. It's not a laboratory environment. It's not a perfect environment.
So Vish22, thank you for sending that question in. Keep sending in your questions and we will try to get them on the air. So guys, let's do this rant thing again because, and Danny, I think you are going to be probably better than the rest of us because of your rap career.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So listen, I might be, I got a little Eminem in me. I'm going 8 Mile. But no, you're very good at the off the cuff stuff, at just thinking of stuff off the top of your head. And I'm interested to see how you do on this stuff. So guys, here's the rules. Let's just go over the rules again. You got 2 minutes. You got 2 minutes. You have to begin and have some sort of coherent thought within 2 minutes. And when the alarm goes off, you're done. And then we'll see how you did.
I'm out.
You're out?
I'm out. I'm tapping it. You got a ringer in here, man.
No,
you got a professional
man, no. I'm here with two very savvy individuals, very intelligent and seasoned individuals. Yeah.
Fasted.
I'm the long shot, man. The odds, this guy's got even money on this, man.
All right, so I'm going to throw out the first one. Person who throws out the topic, we'll all have a chance to throw out our own topics that we pre-prepared that we don't know, and we'll choose who gets to go first. Okay, so I'll throw out the first topic. First topic is COVID lockdown. Now, years ago, we weren't even allowed to say that word, but we're in 2025, so guess what? Screw you, I'm going to say it. I don't think it was really popular. So here's how we're going to do it. We got two people here. Danny, heads or tails? There's your heads. Here's your tails. We got a nice Suffering Podcast challenge going.
Suffering Podcast challenge coin.
Come on, what do you call it?
Heads.
Tails. Tom, your choice. You going first or are you deferring?
I will receive the kick. All right. We opt to receive.
So it's one of those few episodes where I will actually have my phone on the table. And let's get to 2 minutes. All right, ready?
I am sort of ready.
Go.
All right, so COVID lockdown, when we had all this thing jumping off, let's see what the reasons were. Initially, listen, it might have had some benefit in the short term. You look at, listen, people were dying. I think it started in Italy, right? That's where we really saw like a mass die.
Damn Italians.
Yeah, and, ex-wives, not unnamed, but Italian. So it's her fault. Yeah. So when we saw that, I think there was some sort of rhyme or reason to it, but now we're looking at the fallout, right? We have a generation, so there's, a little bit of age difference between all of us. We're a 9/11 generation. There will be other people that look back at 9/11. These were sort of hallmark moments in history and time that changed the trajectory, not only of a nation, but the world with the COVID lockdown. But what do we see now? We see disassociated teenage people, social media becoming more absorbed into their phones. So listen, the initial onset, I think maybe might have been valid, but as time grew on, we're just seeing a bunch of societal ills where people just lost the skill and the art to have a one-on-one meeting. How many things are done by Zoom now, right? There was a proliferation. Listen, during my time, there was some courtroom stuff going on. You're relegated to Zoom. Any attorney worth their salt will say, you get your face in front of a judge, a jury. And I don't think you really get the same amount of justice during a lockdown or a Zoom call. Listen, you stood on your foundation of we don't do remote things. And I applaud you for that because it easily could have snuck in there. Suffering Podcast, born out of actually lockdown. So if you want to look at something that actually was a good thing that came out of it, we're evidence right before you now. But overall, I would say COVID lockdowns, best of intentions, but we're looking at the worst of ills now.
Very good. Not bad.
No, man.
There's a lot to unpack with that one. You did really good at landing the plane on that one.
I don't know.
You did really good.
Well, we landed on maybe, a soft area.
So before we get into any of the critiquing, let's all go around first so we don't blow our proverbial load when it comes to what we're going to say. So, Danny, you ready? All right, here we go.
All right, COVID lockdown, man, was terrible. Terrible and great at the same time. I'll say some of the things that Tom said, I'll piggyback off some of those things, but for law enforcement, from my perspective, it was amazing to some degree because it allowed me to have some time off, to be home with the family, spend a lot of quality time with my daughters and my wife, locked in, forcing us to conversate, forcing us to spend more time with each other because I work the Pittman schedule overnight. A lot of times I'm missing time with the family and not really having that one-on-one time with my family. So in that perspective, it was amazing for me. And it gave me a better quality of life. And also, it also helped me really focus on some great things in my life as far as building the Bridges Project, working on the things that I'm truly care about and want to be successful in. Now, the downside to it, same thing Tom said earlier, people just became socially awkward. It just created more of a distance than a unity than ever before. I saw people that wearing masks that would have never thought of wearing masks before, people that didn't even want to get close to you. It took away the human touch. It just took away a humanity, a certain portion of humanity that would normally be there if it wasn't for this lockdown. I just think overall the lockdown was actually terrible. I just believe that, this was a greater way or whatever. I'm not into conspiracy theories, but it was a way to separate us even more and create even more distance amongst our neighbors when in fact we're supposed to be close and especially in times of crisis.
All right, you got 15 seconds left. Final thought.
All right, final thought, man. The COVID lockdown was terrible. You know, for the fact that we were separated, and outside of that, it was great because I spent time with my family.
There you go.
It was hard. It was hard. It was hard.
Time is up.
Yeah. How'd I do, Ben? How'd I do?
All right.
Getting the thumbs up.
So here we go. All right. When this thing was coming over, you saw the wave coming. So you anticipated it was like impending doom coming right for you, right? And I'm like, you know what? They're going to shut down everything. We were just waiting for it to happen. And to be honest with you, I'm sitting at work and I'm waiting for them to close everything. I heard the shutdown's coming. And as soon as they said shutdown's coming, I'm like, I'm out and I go home. All right, because I'm thinking same thing like you. I'm going to have some time with my family. I'm going to have some time just to sit down, relax, and decompress. But at the time, we only thought it was 2 weeks, right? To slow the curve. Well, that curve was a lot bigger than they thought it was. Now, my personal thoughts on COVID lockdown, it was complete bullshit. I mean, complete bullshit. There was no purpose for it. It did not slow the curve. It did not stop people. All it did was isolate people. That's all it did. And while, yes, I had a great time with my family and I got a lot of house projects down, I missed, I remember when it first happened, I'm driving around and I see people walking out with their family, and that's something you never see, right? I'm like, oh, you know what? This is actually kind of nice. But after 2 weeks we're going to be locked down more. We're going to be locked down more. Now you're like, what are you doing? Now, the downside of all this lockdown was people got really hurt, not just socially, financially. How many restaurants closed? How many businesses closed? You can't run a business without customers in the store. And those businesses never recovered. So whoever put that lockdown into place, and I think it was Dr. Fauci, he should be strung up by his heels. That's my opinion. He should be strung up by his heels because it was based on false information. There was no reality. There was no studies done with that. Take this vaccine, even though it's untested. This is not a political thing. This is a reality thing. The vaccine didn't work. You could still get COVID. We were locked down.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a little passionate about the COVID.
You had gas in the tank, man.
Because it just ruined people's lives.
It did, man. It did.
And yes, while the podcast was started out of COVID, we still have people in. I have never done a remote podcast. I refuse to do them because they're hollow. I refuse to do them on this show because it doesn't work. I don't think it works. Not for me. But I think the COVID lockdown was one of the worst things that ever happened to this country.
It was a joke. Yeah.
I would say, listen, at the outset, fine. Listen, freeze everything, almost listen, when we freeze the scene while we're investigating, for everybody. But listen, as a long-term thing, initially okay, but long-term, what you
the plan.
It was a plan. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, those restaurants and those business owners, remember they had to build those structures in the street where they had extra seating?
Yeah, you can't get COVID in there.
Right, there's no sense to it. And then after the fact, a lot of those code enforcement officials, they were charging them and fining them because they weren't meeting some specifications. So talk about a small business owner.
They were getting killed.
In a rock and a hard.
Here's something none of us talked about. How many people did their loved ones die, elderly? Even if they didn't die of COVID, elderly, they weren't allowed to go see them.
You nailed it. I'm going to say something. In Europe, they did a study. They noticed people were dying because they were being segregated. They were being separated. Just imagine you're sick. They're telling you you're going to die. We got to intubate you. And not only that, they separate you from all mankind. You die you're isolated. Your thoughts are killing you. Your brain can kill you. So you know what they did? They filled up a glove with hot water and they would let people hold it to give it the appearance that someone was holding their hand.
Oh, that's nice.
And it elevated their life expectancy.
Watch an elderly couple that have been married for 60 plus years. Yeah. One of them dies. What happens very shortly? Usually
they go
very quickly
right after,
because that loneliness gets to them.
100%.
And then they shove this stupid vaccine in you, this untested vaccine. Now, me personally, I took it, and it gave me 2 heart attacks. Okay,
are you serious?
Gave me 2 heart attacks, 2 blood clots passed through my heart.
Sorry to hear that, bro. It's crazy.
But my thought was, you know what? I'm not having any more kids because that's the danger. I'm not having any more kids. Whatever gets this shit over with quicker, I'm going to do it. But it was one of the biggest travesties put on the United States in the world.
You were in training at the time.
I was training for a triathlon. I was doing for a triathlon. I was, just to let you know the numbers, I was running 40 miles a week. I was biking over 100. I was swimming 5 to 7 a week.
Wow.
So I was in a...
Not the profile of a man that's going to have a heart attack.
No. And I had, I was doing jujitsu, and I'm doing jujitsu one night. I'm like, man, I got a pain here. I think I pulled a muscle. And sure enough, they check your troponin levels. So I think it was just a disaster.
It was insane.
All right. So what's the next topic, guys? Tom, what's the next topic?
All right, so listen, I'm surrounded. Like, listen, anybody that's watching this, like, they can listen, but if they actually watch the video, they're gonna see that I'm surrounded by two athletes here, and I'm more of a mathlete than an athlete.
What you're telling me is you're calling us hunky, which is not a masculine thing for us to say.
See, I knew you were gonna
I gotta go there. I have to
go there. It's not.
That thing.
Turn it into something. Listen. You could be a sports fan, but I'm just calling it like it is, man. I'm recognizing my body and who I'm standing in the shadow of. But I'm gonna throw one out here. Between the two of you, because I know you got sports stories, what is your worst athletic fail?
Oh, okay. So, call it, Dan. Heads or tails?
Tails.
Heads. I'll let you go.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah. My worst athletic fail would be quitting Bayonne High School when I was a junior in high school. I quit the baseball team simply because I wasn't the starting center fielder. And I blamed it on nepotism. I blamed it on favoritism. And I was being a big baby, you know what I'm saying? And I think that was my biggest fail because one of the things that I believe is quitting is the birth of regret. And I lived with a lot of regret for the majority of the rest of my life because I loved baseball. I believed that I could have made it to the Major League Baseball League. Well, I mean, we all believed that.
Well, you're Dominican, right?
No, Boricua.
Okay, Puerto Rican. You got to be Dominican to make it to pro.
Yeah, shout out to Francisco Lindor, Puerto Rico, baby. But anyway, I gave up on myself. You know, I gave up and I did it for something so stupid. And that was a big fail because I lived with the fact of coulda, woulda, shoulda. And I see the team thriving and I see that there was an opportunity later in the season. If I would have stuck around, the coach told me, hey, you would have stuck around, you would have had your opportunity. So I remember that really hit me hard during that time of my life. And also, I was also, I was being a follower. I'll be honest with you. I was being a follower, wanted to be in the streets, wanted to do rap music, which I love. And that's part of who I am, the very fabric of who I am. But I let those things dictate that decision during that time of my life, and I forever will live in regret for doing that. I mean, I'm older now, but I used that experience in my life to teach my daughters that a lot of times we think that a hill is a mountain. And a lot of times we say that we're on a mountain when we're really on a hill, and we say, hey, I'm on a mountain, I'm doing great things. However, we're only on a hill. So during that time of my life, instead of trying to traverse that mountain, trying to climb that mountain and get through those obstacles and that so-called nepotism and favoritism, I should have put in that hard work and try to climb to the next atmosphere, make it to the next level, and try to make it to the summit.
I have a very weird journey when it comes to athletics. I had a very overbearing father that he was trying to live vicariously through his children in sports, and it didn't translate really well. I love sports. I love baseball. I love basketball, but I really loved football. And football was one of the things that I had a little bit of a talent for. I had talent because I had size. That was it. And I'm not a monster, but they see a kid like me, they put me on the offensive line. So I was able to matriculate pretty well within the football atmosphere. And I did find a love for it and an enjoyment for it. I love the teamwork. I love the hard work. My problem is I had no guidance. Okay, I had no guidance steering me in the right direction, and it's something I try to remedy with my kids. So I was very fortunate to get out of my current my home situation and go away to college to play football. So I played college football for 3.5 years. Let's say 3.5 years. By the time I was at the end of my junior year, football became a job. It was something that I loathed. I'm like, oh my God, I got to go to practice. I lost my love for it completely, but I had been doing it since I was 7 years old. I didn't know how to leave it. I didn't know how to quit. I was plagued by injuries. And the reason I was plagued by injuries is because I wasn't going 100%. When you don't go 100% on the field, whether it's baseball, football, that's when you start getting injured. I was spraining ankles. I've had 9 knee surgeries. I blew out my shoulder. I was just getting killed left and right. I had about a dozen undiagnosed concussions, but that, I had about a dozen you know what I'm saying.
This is one of the concussions coming right back.
It's coming back right now. So the one that finally I had called quits, I'm in a game, and I felt my groin muscle pop. And I said, you know what? I'm done. Fuck this shit. I'm done. And I've lived with that for 30 years.
Now, listen, Danny, you heard there wasn't a fail in there, right? He was talking about all the things he does. See, this is when the host gets a question and he turns a negative into a positive.
No. So the postscript to that is I didn't watch football for 25 years because the way I left the game, I left it out on the field, which is the thing you're not supposed to do. So it is my biggest regret. I always felt that I had a couple more plays in me and I didn't leave the game the way that I wanted to.
A common thread, actually, is not quitting.
Quitting is the birth
Keep
of regret.
suffering, man. That's
All right, Tom, ready? Go for it.
All right, so listen. You should see the look on the host's face right now. And actually Danny too, right? So listen, I have no shortage of athletic fails, but I got two. That are gonna get you going, all right? So I did play football occasionally.
Heavy curling accident?
Mainly I was, in charge of the bench a lot of the time. But just to give you an idea, in my high school, I went to a Catholic high school, Queen of Peace in North Arlington. They've since closed, but an alumni of the show as well, Bobby Cradell. And our practice field was only 80 yards long. So in order to score a touchdown, our track was the outside of where, so if you wanted to dive and make a touchdown, you were going on the pavement. So that just sets a scene. So we have a homecoming game and I'm suited up and I'm actually thinking I'm actually gonna play. I was dating a cheerleader at the time, so she's cheering on there and we're playing at a different field in North Arlington and we're getting the rivals down there. I'm all suited up and we had Green Bay colors. So I'm like, I'm living it, man. I'm finally gonna do something. And they had this big banner set out. So, when we go through and they hold the banner out and the team goes like running out there, charging through the banner. Well, I got my balls were feeling a little bigger than they should have been at the time. And I take the lead and I'm to be the first one to go through that thing. Now, little did I know that there was a 50-gallon drum garbage can directly in my lane of travel. And I go first one through and I hit that can and I go ass over tea kettle in an entire stadium full of, former Queen of Peace high school football fans. And I just the whole place just erupted in laughter. And it's not so much different from what we do here, actually, as a matter of fact, getting made fun of. And at the end of the game in the locker room, I got the hardest hit for the garbage can on my helmet.
Nice that Queen of Peace was that progressive where they had male cheerleaders. That's really nice of them.
See how his mind's working, man?
The common theme is there are moments throughout your athletic career as a young man that you regret, whether it be quitting or running into a garbage can or getting taken out by a garbage can.
Maybe my theme should have been quitting. And I should have took the
Let's
quit.
talk about everybody's style, about how they ranted. Let's judge everybody on not so much what they said, how they rant. They give a good beginning, middle, and end. Were they able to get their thought process down, clear and concise? Were they able to do it?
I'm gonna chime in on Danny's because I thought his was actually very, very good with the quitting, and that's a message. And listen, you're good at what you do for a reason. Like it's clear you have talent in a bunch of different areas, not only reaching out to the community, but getting that story out. So that one, I listen. What are we doing? Is there any scale? There's no rules here.
No. I honestly,
I'm going to say good.
I would honestly say that the common theme amongst everybody is, there was guidance problems. Like even if you're telling me you sat on the bench, I believe that everybody, especially in high school, has the ability to play. I do. But whether they're guided or not. Now, this is where economics come in a little bit. Do your parents have enough to give you some extra training, some extra help, or are you just a natural athlete? But natural athletes actually have it worse, okay? Because they have all this talent and they've never had to work for the talent. And then when they meet an obstacle, they usually just shut down. You said you were really good. Imagine if you had the proper guidance that said, no, you got to fail. That's what you got to do. You got to fail. Are you ready to enhance your skills and provide the best care to those who need it the most? I'm Kevin Donaldson.
I'm Sherry Alsip. Our trauma-informed training is here to help, and we've been traveling across the country delivering this essential need to departments and organizations of every size, shape, and makeup.
We come to you with on-site training so you don't have to worry about travel or scheduling conflicts.
This isn't just a class, it's an interactive experience. You'll learn directly from subject matter experts who teach from a victim's point of view, putting you in the shoes of those who have experienced trauma.
This approach allows you to understand trauma on a deeper level and to better serve the individuals you work with.
We'll guide you through new interview techniques that prioritize a victim-centered approach, ensuring safety and empathy in every conversation.
And for those of you in law enforcement or other fields, our training includes post-credits, giving you the extra added value and recognition for your commitment to professional growth.
We offer references upon request to show just how effective our training can be.
Don't miss the opportunity to improve your understanding of trauma and make a real difference in the lives of those you serve. Get in touch with us today by going to sherryalsip.com and let us bring trauma-informed training to your organization.
Together, we can make a lasting impact.
And that's what's going to propel you to the next level.
I practiced like a motherfucker.
But I was done. Like I was so happy. I was actually happy to rip my groin. The downside to that is I had about 9 Jamaican nurses shaving me when I had to get surgery on it. That was fun because I couldn't understand what they were saying and my junk's hanging out in the breeze. That wasn't very
He always lands on his feet. I got the garbage can. He gets the Jamaican shave job.
Okay, have you ever seen a Jamaican nurse? Okay, they're not suited for Playboy. Let's put it that way.
Did he have gentle hands? He used a lot of lotion.
I heard white boy, small, something like that. Yeah, it wasn't a good thing. Danny, what do you got?
Oh man, I love both stories. I like Tom's. Tom's stands out only because I love how both of you guys are very transparent, which I love, and that's why I love you guys. I think you guys are always forthcoming on who you really are, and I'm big on being yourself because I feel like when you're being yourself, you're living in true freedom. A lot of people suffer from depression because they have to hide so many things and they're scared to be themselves. So I love Tom's story because wasn't scared to tell a story of where he was the laughing stock of the whole stadium as opposed to making a great play, right? Which is like, we all make the great play, everyone's cheering, but there's a certain dynamic to what you did starting that game that probably added some joy to a lot of people there, which is ironic, right? I mean, you doing that, you going through that, and it might be embarrassing, but it was also funny, and it was a great memory that you created in the lives of many who probably still talk about
Gave
it.
people a chuckle.
Yeah.
So your story would probably resonate the most with people because you're showing vulnerability, right?
Yes.
Vulnerability is what connects us to other people. Everybody has had that moment. Like, I could tell you one moment that would rival that where I pantsed a kid in front of the cheerleading practice, and I pantsed him and I stepped on his pants.
Was that you?
That was me. And his first name is Pat, and I feel bad for it to this day because I'm standing behind him and all I see were butt cheeks clenching as he grabbed. That's an embarrassing moment, a sports story, right? But I guarantee Pat has never told that story. And when really all he has to do is some asshole pants me in front of a bunch of girls. Like, that's going to connect because we've all had those embarrassing moments, those moments that we're just not proud of. Like, I'm not proud of quitting. Like that, I've done a lot of stupid shit to other people that I'm the cause of their heartache. So vulnerabilities are what bring us together.
I love that. Perfect word.
So, Danny, you got a topic?
Yes, I do.
What do you got?
What does it mean to be a father?
Ooh, look out. All right, Tom, call it. Heads or tails?
Go ahead, flip it. Heads.
Tails. I'm not touching you on this one, so I'm going to go first. I'm going to tell you why I'm going to go first. All right, here we go. In essence, being a father is the scariest thing I've ever done. And I've been in some hairy situations. Being a father, being responsible for another life and how they grow up and how they turn out is the most frightening thing because there is no room for error. You know, the minute you screw up, you know you could affect their lives. And they didn't ask to be born. No kid asks to be born. So you have to do the best that you can. Now, if you weren't raised in a good household, you try not to repeat the mistakes that you made prior. You try to break the generational curses and break those chains and give them all the opportunities. But you have to walk that very fine line. Are you giving them too much? Is your adversity what made you who you are? Is your lack of what made you who that you are? Is that the drive that pushed you forward? So you got to have that very, very careful, you know. With my kids, I'm tough on them. They know I love them. They know I have their back, but I'm tough as hell on them. I'm not so tough on them because I'm not living vicariously through them. I'm watching these things grow. The most important thing I will tell you about, especially having two boys, okay? I am the only man in their life that wishes that they are better than me. I am the only one. They will never meet another person like me, not because I'm unique. It's because I want them to be better than me. Now, the age that my kids are, I start to become support services. What do you need? What can I do for you? How can I facilitate your dreams? Let me show you. But one of the things that I push into them is no matter what you want, it's never going to be given to you. You have to work your ass off. And when you fail, take the lessons from what you failed at and move that and use that as fuel to push you forward. Because guess what? Those failures are the greatest gift that you will ever have in your entire life.
Ooh,
Nicely
beautiful.
done. Well done, man.
Mic drop on that.
All right, Tom.
That should have been my coach's speech when I ran out for football. I probably would have done better.
It might have been like Flynn.
Man.
Football's just not.
Where were you in the locker room when we needed you, man? That's a true.
You got to remember, I'm a head coach, so I have to give these motivational speeches. Only I did it this time without dropping F-bombs, so I'm pretty proud of myself.
Good job.
All right, Tom, ready?
I don't know. So I get to. I feel like I almost want to go last, but I can't.
You can't change. Well, Danny, it was Danny's topic, so he's got to go last. All right, you ready? Here we go.
All right. So, what does it mean to be a true father? And listen, we didn't coordinate any of these questions beforehand, but there was some talk pre-recording about Danny and I, and what we do share in common is that we both have all girls, contrary to Kevin.
If you guys want
over here
boys,
has got
I'll help you guys out.
Yeah. Well, my barber told me I couldn't put the stem on the apple. What's the matter? You're a buttonhole maker. You just make buttons. You can't put the stem on the apple, cuz. Thanks. Can you give me a haircut now? I get enough abuse in my podcast career here. But anybody that knows the story of Tom Flynn knows that what's center to Tom Flynn's life and story was, and still is, his 3 daughters. And anybody that sees me, you know, like, listen, I wear the cross around my neck. And then the second thing that I wear around my neck is a dog tag, because I'm in a battle for my girls. I'm in a battle to be the man who is their, the hallmark of what they're going to look for in a husband. I have to be an example. I have to be the rock. I have to be strong. And my battle, you look online, you check my feed, you learn about Tom Flynn, and this dog tag has all 3 of their names on it as we're in this studio. And it says, 3 girls stole my heart, and they call me daddy. And it's got their names on it. And it's Grace, Faith, and Rose. And, you know, adults decide to get married. Children don't decide to get divorced. And children benefit from a loving relationship from both parents. But as a father, I have to prevail. I have to survive. I cannot quit. I will not quit. And I hope to God someday they see me. I thought it was as a police officer. That fell through. I definitely knew it was as a father. And I hope maybe, you know, as a podcaster, they find out.
Great job, dude. Great job. All right, let me get this going, Danny. Tell me when you're ready.
Danny, getting me all teary,
ready.
man. Bringing out
So yeah,
Here we go.
I'm proud of you. So I just want to say, that was when I was thinking about the topics, Kev. I thought about Tom, and I think Tom's story impacted me gratefully. I didn't know about Tom's story before we spoke today, And Ben's in the background, and he'll tell you, I'm big on people telling their story because I believe there's a lot of dads, there's a lot of people that need to hear that story. We always hear the stories that are great of being a parent and being a father and the ups and downs, right? The times that we see our children fail and we have to pick them up, whether it's physically, emotionally, monetarily. But what about the battles that we go through, right? The demons that we fight, the battles that we go through personally behind closed doors that people don't see, that we fight for our kids. And I think Tom is one of those individuals that there's a beauty behind his pain because he is still fighting. And there are fathers out there that will not fight. They would choose to give up, right? And we go back to what I said earlier, quitting is the birth of regret. And I'll use the relationship that I have with my father. He passed away last year. And my biological dad and I didn't really have a great relationship, but I had to forgive him and I had to build a relationship with him because of what he went through. He didn't know how to love, but it takes a lot. As a father, we have to fight, like I said, not to beat a dead horse, fight our demons to give our kids the best life, to give them what you said, Kev, give them the things to make them better than what we ever will be. I grew up in a house that was volatile, a lot of alcoholism, abuse. My father wasn't around, poverty, all those things. My kids do not feel that, right? By the grace of God, because we want them to not feel the traumas that we went through. So, I just wanted to say and encourage Tom to keep doing his thing and keep fighting for his children, because at the end of the day, man, there's a God that is watching. And I believe that there's a saying in Spanish. Yeah.
Oh, we got to get the Spanish saying, man. We can't use
Sangre llama. There's a Spanish saying that says sangre llama, and that means that blood calls.
Oh, sangre. I know it's a Latin word for that. So it's hard to critique any of this because we bring this personal feeling into our children, right? Yeah. I look at my children as the biggest gift of God that God ever gave me, right? And I'm always working hard. And so, Tom, this is why when I heard this topic, I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah, there was no planning in that. I said, ooh, I started to feel it right away when you said it, man.
Because the things, Tom, I always say Tom's the strongest man I ever met, not physically.
I know, he adds that part in all the time.
Not physically.
You can't separate.
But definitely mentally and emotionally, because there have been a lot of times with me and my wife where things weren't going well. And one of the things that kept me there, I do love my wife, don't get me wrong. But one of the things that kept me there is thinking about the possibility of not being able to see my kids every single day. Those of us where you have not seen your kids, it would be the greatest pain I've ever experienced. I can't imagine what you go through on a daily basis.
I would call the greatest pain very accurate.
Yeah, it is the greatest pain ever. But I will say this, and we had this discussion on the way up here. You are starting to hit the marks, right? You're starting to get out of that hole and elevate in a lot of different areas. All those things that you're doing is working towards getting those girls back, because what's going to happen with time, and I know we're all impatient, but with time, I firmly believe that God is going to put you back with your girls. I 100% believe that. There is no doubt in my mind if you have the fortitude to keep fighting.
Well, I'll listen, man. I'm not going to butter your biscuit, but I will tell you.
Dude, please don't butter my biscuit.
I set myself up every time. That's kind of like,
That was a lob.
So, yeah, I know. It's a grounder. I'll say this about your children as well. You were given the greatest gift by God with your children, and those children were given the greatest gift with a man like you as a father. I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. I see how you care about them, and I see how, discipline and love, maybe that's not what you think of, but, the reason that I'm actually sort of hitting these markers is because a lot to do with you.
Well, here's a question for everybody. Danny, you're doing some amazing things with kids with the Bridges Project, and you're out there on social media. Tom, you're out there on social media, myself included. Have you ever thought about the blowback to your kids?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I think about it all the time. I try to pour value into my daughters and her friends as much as I can. So I do like little PowerPoint presentations in my living room for her. And they're like, here goes Mr. Rivera again. Doing
You have the laser
PowerPoint.
pointer too? You're like, hey.
I'm here doing an anti-bullying presentation in my living room. But I just want to encourage my brother Tom. I want to say something. I'm very observant. And I notice you show a tremendous amount of love to people, man. And that's an amazing gift, even in the midst of your pain and your hurt. And the fact that you still find it to show love and give people their flowers and show love, that is the reason why God is going to bless you, because of your heart, man. And I just want to encourage you, man, keep fighting the good fight, keep God first, man. And I believe the same thing Kev believes, that you will have that relationship back.
I'll respond in this way. And listen, faith is deeply held between the three of the people sitting at this table.
Amen.
I am not the first person to say this, but it is a saying that came into my head. I don't know if I heard somebody else say it and I'm plagiarizing. But when you pray for solutions, God gives you tools.
Yes.
And you use them.
We talk a lot about faith, but I think it's John 14, faith takes work, right?
It does.
Faith takes work.
Yep.
But getting back to the thing where what we do publicly, having repercussions on your kids, I was always very conscious of that, right? And I do a lot of stuff. My son, Joe, your kids are watching. Trust me when I tell you, your kids are watching what you do. And what you're doing is you can actually inspire them to show that anything's possible. Where when you go home, you're just dad. You're the guy that's walking around in his underwear. You're the guy cleaning up dog shit outside. You're the guy that's taking them to school. But they're also watching you on social media. They're watching you on all that stuff. And I was always worried about it until my youngest one came up to me. He goes, Dad, I just want to let you know, you're all over my TikTok. Like you're all over my TikTok, all my friends' TikToks. But the way he said it with pride. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I always said, listen, man, if you get, I've told them from the get-go, if you get uncomfortable, let me know. I'll back it down. It's about you. It's not about me. Yeah. But he said it with pride. And I was like, oh, okay.
Can I add to that? Man, I get emotional. But my daughter, my 12-year-old, Gia, she comes out. I'm sorry. The other day I was rapping. I got discouraged. I was like, man, I'm going to be 44 years old. I'm still rapping. And I got a little discouraged, man. I got in my thing like, should I still be rapping? I'm a cop. I'm getting older. I'm doing the mentorship thing. So I go to my daughter. I go to Gia and I go, Gia, let me ask you a question. Because she and all her friends follow me too. I go, what do you think about daddy rapping? She goes, oh, love it. I go, what do your friends say about, because the kids, she's like, oh, no, they love it. I go, do you think I should stop rapping? She goes, no. She goes, no, it's not cringy, Dad. Trust me. So I go, oh, that's good. Okay, I don't look like some weirdo.
Best compliment ever.
Yeah, because we get into our feelings and we wonder, we doubt ourselves, right? And that's a great gauge to see who we're affecting and who we're a conduit for. Your kids will keep it real with you, right? They'll tell us, right? They'll say, like, hey, Dad, that's weird. Even though I know why I do it, and you know why you do it, and you as well know why we do what we do. Yeah. However, it's good to have that confirmation.
We have to step back from ourselves and realize that it is not about us anymore. It's about showing our kids what is possible, maybe with limited tools. Limited tools. No, I'm just kidding.
He can't help himself.
It's a sickness. When it gets too serious, he has to do it.
But that's what I do. So with limited tools that we all have that we're trying to make lemonade out of lemons. All right, so listen, we got time for one more topic, and then we're going to go through everything on how everybody did. So let's take a vote. Everybody give one more topic. My next topic would have been lawyers. What's everybody got?
I got loyalty.
Loyalty?
So it's got to be a fail thing, right? Online dating and worst first date.
That could be funny. That could be funny. All right, so let's go with worst first date. Yeah. Okay, so Tom, so you got to go last. You're going to have to land this plane. Danny, call it.
Heads.
Heads it is.
All right.
Let me get you ready.
I'll go first.
Worst first date. Ready? Go.
Oh, man, I remember this. The girl's name was Melissa Marrero. Gorgeous, young Spanish woman, hazel eyes, gorgeous. Bayonne, New Jersey. I finally got an opportunity. I was young. I was like 15, 16 years old. Finally got an opportunity to hang out with her. So she's like, she was driving at the time. She was like a year older than me. Yeah, so I had, about 15, 16 years old. So she's like, all right, I'm going to pick you up. I was living at 715 Avenue C in Bayonne. So we had a glass front door with obviously a small hallway there. So I'm like, damn, I look real skinny right now. Man, maybe I should do some push-ups. You know what I mean? So I'm in the foyer doing some push-ups.
I could relate.
Who's standing outside the front door like this? So I get up and I'm straining the last push-up. I'm like, I get up and she's like staring at me. And I'm like, oh my God, how do you explain that? So I open the door and she's laughing and she's like, what were you doing? And she goes, were you doing push-ups for me? And I was like, yeah, kind of. I was trying, and she thought it was hysterical. I was embarrassed as hell because I had a huge crush on this girl. But I was super embarrassed. Lo and behold, it never went anywhere. I wonder why. We hung out that day, and that was pretty much the end of it. But that was the most embarrassing experience I had.
Now, did she ever break your balls in the future? Like, yeah, I was going to go out with this guy, but
No, we never. You know what's weird? I was really cool with her mother. Her mother loved me. I was always getting in trouble in Midtown, when I went to school, and her mother was always like, oh my God. So that's how I met her. But me and her mother stayed cool. She just was into like different type of dude.
She into white guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She married a white guy. Yeah.
Wait, what's her name again?
Melissa Rivera.
All right, here we go.
We're gonna bleep
Beautiful
that out
name,
just
man.
in case. Yeah.
The face.
So I got two. First one I'm going to run through real quick. I go out and there was Chi-Chi's, this Mexican restaurant. I got the worst stomach in the world. Me in a Mexican restaurant, not a good idea. We go out to Chi-Chi's. I never met this girl, and we're eating, we're talking, we're having a good time, right? And next thing you know, driving her home, the Mexican restaurant starts hitting me. Now, she had an apartment. We go back to her apartment, and it's like a small little apartment. The bathroom is like, the couch is here, and the bathroom's right here. I can't hold it no more. I go into the bathroom, and I destroy the place. And what's the worst thing that can possibly happen when you're in somebody else's bathroom? You hit flush, and it doesn't go. All right? So I'm looking around for something to break this thing up. I grab her toothbrush. I break it up. Down it goes. I take the toothbrush and I throw it out the window. Okay? And I said, screw this. I throw it out the window. I walk out. Now, she obviously just heard the absolute horror that went on in the bathroom. I go, I got to go. I'm not feeling well. And I walk out. So the next morning, she calls me and says, hey, I understand. Like, I guess you were a little sick. Your stomach wasn't feeling good, but why is my toothbrush on the front lawn? So the second one, it was the advent of online dating. It was very early or late 90s, right? So I'm talking to this girl online. Online dating wasn't really even a thing. She sends me a picture. I'm like, all right, this is a try. I meet her at this restaurant. It was a TGI Friday. She says, I'll be wearing a red dress. And this is how I learned that there is nothing real on the internet. So I go in there, and she described herself as this slender, in shape, blonde girl. I walk in there, and this girl is holding up the place, okay? She's got me by at least 50 pounds. And I walk in there, and I go, and I look at her, and I go, no. And I walk out. And I walk out, and she's a liar. She's a liar. I don't want to. And it wasn't about the size of her. Okay, it was more about the fact, just so I don't look like a total douchebag on air. It was more about her lying to me. You do not lie to me.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Yeah. Let's just say it was because of trust issues.
The funny thing is she had a tryout with the New York Giants the next day. So
Let me ask you a question. What if she was even better looking than what she told you? Would you have left?
no, because that's not a lie. That's humility.
I see how you flipped the script there.
That's humility. We want that, right?
There you go. You're right.
And especially if you find a girl who wasn't hot until she's like 20. All right, then they got that low self-esteem, and that's a real find.
I thought you were going to go with that. I thought you were going to, like in some strange scheme to turn a profit, the people made more than one dress, red dress. And you went there and it's like, hey, no, that's not her.
Let's just say this poor girl was a biggin. Tell the truth, so when I walk in, I don't have sticker shock. That's all I'm going to say. All right, Tom, go ahead.
All right, it is going to be sort of an online dating thing. So when I hit my little spot there, like I said, hey, you know, let's give this thing a go. Like really, I never did the online dating thing. But as it turns out, I met somebody and we started talking, and her name is Crismati, a Dominican girl, believe it or not. This Blanquito got a Dominican.
Was she a magician on a cruise ship?
No, she was an emergency room nurse.
The great Crismati.
Yeah. Oh, listen, I hope she don't hear this, man. She's mean. So she actually emergency room nurse. She wanted to be an NYPD cop. So we kind of hit it off, and we started doing the whole thing, telling us all about ourselves and the whole thing. And I was going to do this thing right.
All online right now.
Yeah, but then we were doing calls and the FaceTime, so I actually saw the product before I got in to buy. So I said, I'm going to do this thing right. So if there's a place here in New Jersey, it's called the Chart House. Yes. So Chart House, it's right on yeah, man. Like I was going in. So we knew everything about her, so all the details and what type of cocktails she liked and everything else. And she came in and she was beautiful, by the way, out of my league. So we're there at the Chart House overlooking New York City, water, skyline, the whole thing. And I'm looking at the menu and it's way more expensive than I can afford. But I'm locked in. Like I thought
water with ice.
And this was going places. So I'm like, all right. I was like, well, let me look. I just sort of looked at the price and I said, Seafood Tower, man. I'm going to light this up. She can drink whatever she want. The thing comes over, they do the nice presentation. It comes over and she is giving me the eyes that only a Dominican woman can give. And I said, you know, what's going on? I told you I was allergic to seafood. And I was just like, in my mind, I looked at her, I'm like, okay. So, yeah,
What happened?
Oh, we wound up dating for a while.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
After you gave her the shot of the Benadryl, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, some rags do smell
Did
like
she look
chloroform.
like Will Smith in Hitch after the
Rohypnol's a hell of a drug, right?
Yeah. But then I'm thinking, like, if I eat a shrimp and this goes where I want it to go, is she not going to be able to engage because she's going to get
you
allergic?
did it to make her lips bigger. That's what you did it for.
Well, you know, I don't know if you heard story about
big
Tom
move.
Flynn's down below, but those lips got to be.
Don't give me. All you do when you say that is give me clips. That's all you do. So that was a fun one, right?
Yeah,
So that was a fun one. So I think everybody did a really, really good job.
Likewise.
At the thing, it's a little bit of improv. It gets your chops nice and fresh and sharp, and it's not easy to do. People don't realize that to sit there and talk on a topic for 2 minutes, a topic that you don't know you got no preparation, all you got is life experience. It's not easy. No. I mean, what's the hardest part about just going through those rants for you guys?
Yeah. Well, for me, it's like you said, the improv side of it, and also, I mean, we're in the studio, cameras. Right? Lights. I mean, when you're just talking amongst friends, if we were just sitting around just bullshitting, I think it would be a lot easier. But when you know it's recorded and you know like there's somebody there watching, I think it adds a different element of difficulty to it.
I actually thought some of the hardest things, and listen, I don't for whatever reason they just came to me, but it speaks to your creative mind as well, is coming up with the topics. So it goes to show the work behind a podcast. You're doing a podcast, like you're thinking of topics, and some are scripted, some happen organically, but there's a lot of work on the back end. The topic was actually the hard part.
So it's you know, you got to be very careful when you choose the topics. Like I can't say molecular fusion, you know, because everybody's like, huh? That's when more molecules fuse. Yeah, it's got to be something we can all talk about, something we have some sort of life experience in, because otherwise it's like you were. It's like, could you expand upon that? No, I really can't. That's all I got. All I got.
Yeah, we had talked about a guest that gave a one-word answer and then just stopped right.
And I looked up, I'm like, yeah, can you expand this? This is a podcast here. I mean, we gotta talk a little bit. So we're gonna end it this way. We always end the show the same way. You know, there's when you have to sit there and talk in front of lights and cameras and stuff. There's some suffering involved. You start to if you draw a blank, you're like, oh, what do I do now? What do I say? So that suffering of either coming up with a topic or talking about an unknown topic, what did it teach you? I'll start with you, Tom.
Yeah, I think it's training, right? So like bring a little bit of faith in there, like suffering. Suffering is God's training camp, right? You know, like you're training to get better. Even if I failed, which, man, I could have had a garbage can moment on any of these things and I could have stopped at 30 seconds. But the next time, I'll be better. I'm not great. And we talked about things I'm working on.
I tell you, you're not great all the time.
You do, and it's very helpful.
It's me trying to build you up through tough love. That's all it is.
That's it. I'm not great, but I know one thing. I'm better than I was yesterday, man.
I think that's a great.
And the same thing with the topics and the rants.
Danny?
Keep you sharp.
Yeah, I think, it makes you sharp. Absolutely. Makes you sharp, makes you think, makes you smarter, especially if it's a topic that you really don't have too much knowledge about, right? And you're forced to talk about it a little bit. I think it opens you up a little bit more. But the suffering side of it, suffering is a part. It has to happen in order for you to be successful. We'll use diamonds, for example. Diamonds come from the most treacherous, most dangerous grounds, and they have to be dug up. They don't come out looking the way they are when we wear them in their full flamboyance. They have to go through the fire. They have to be refined. They have to be cut. And then they come out looking like the product that everyone admonishes. So I think that the suffering is an essential part of life, and I think you should definitely utilize your suffering to become successful.
I love trying to paint pictures with words, and it's not always as easy as everybody thinks. That's why episodes such like this are good, because they'll show you very authentic, unscripted. How do the words come out of your mouth? How does your mind think? It's not easy on the spot, very spontaneously, to think about words and try to come out with a coherent thought process. But here's the thing. Episodes such as these, like you said, they're training grounds, right? Yeah. They're training grounds in order to make us sharper, in order to make us better, in order to make us more coherent. So guess what? When we're in a normal situation where there's not lights and cameras, we take the knowledge that we learn and the little bit of pain that we did this in front of the cameras and let them go. Maybe we stuttered on words. Maybe we got the wrong word here. We take all that stuff, and now all of a sudden people are like, how'd you come up with that so fast? Well, you know what? I practiced. I wasn't as good. I'm better today. Yeah. So thank you guys very much for coming in and talking about this, the suffering of rants too, or another rant. I really appreciate it. I'm overly appreciative to Focus Labs Media and Danny and Ben, and you guys have been wonderful for us. And I can't thank you guys enough. Tom, listen, I can't do what I do without you. That's the bottom line. I can't do it. Can't do it. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, the suffering of another rant. And let's think about all the stuff that we learned. A short time can change people in some crazy ways. Quitting will definitely last forever. Vulnerabilities connect us. But most importantly, your children are watching. So do the right thing. And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to go to popple.com, put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount on your digital business card. Follow us on all social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Clapper, OnlyFans. Follow Tom at the Tom Flynn. Follow Danny at Bookem _Bridges. Yep. _Bridges. Follow me at Realkevindonaldson. And of course, follow the Suffering Podcast. We'll see you on the next episode.